Hello. Test, test. 1, 2. Are we ready? All right, guys, we're back. I thought, well, this show's a bit impromptu. I didn't plan to go live today, but the opportunity presented itself, so I thought, why not? I've been learning a lot lately about the country of Rhodesia and how it all fell apart. So that'd be fun for us to do a little exploration of that today, talk about it in the chat and with me, and see whatever else we want to talk about or think about this White History Month. In the comment section, you can share maybe your own favorite white history figures or moments or ideas for upcoming shows this month. We're on the 19th. The month is getting away from us, but I want to do my part to celebrate white history. So anyway, let's get started. I had a little funny thing to watch at the beginning here. So let me pull it up, share with you guys. White History Month at the Deaf Poetry Lounge. Never forget Rhodesia. I was requested not to sing on the next one, so sorry, guys. Maybe at the end I'll sing.
Stacey Dash says, we should eliminate Black History Month because if it were the other way around, we would be, and I quote, up in arms. I say, if you let us put our hands down without shooting us, we will happily give you your very own White History Month. For the entire month of March, or April, and it isn't picky, we will embed Eurocentric brilliance into the bottom of our subconscious, like all the time, like always, like history class. If referring to what's already business as usual as White History Month is literally all it will take for y'all to stop killing us, I am 92% for it. In fact, in the spirit of us all being equal, I'm willing to make May White History Month Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Extra time to learn white history facts such as the slave master is the original deadbeat dad. In fact, in the spirit of harmony, I'm willing to make June White Feelings Matter Month, where we will not mourn our dead or express fears of being next. No, we will remain silent and just pour out white tears for the fallen. July is White Entertainment Television Month. You will get your own WET simply by making the NBC Peacock and giving it cornrows. August is NAAWP Month, the National Association for the Advancement of White People, like Europe, or America, or Trump International, or that time you altered Jesus Christ's complexion. September is MLK Would Have Agreed With Me Month. October is We Killed MLK, even though he would have agreed with me month. For Mustache November, let's pilgrim our way into a hipster's house, and when he does not offer us a drink, call him a savage. December is Token Appreciation Month, where every person of color who says, but what about black on black crime, gets their face embossed on a literal actual token. Lastly, January is Cracker Month. You go too far. Fine, we'll call it Becky Month. But it's somehow worse. For Cracker, Becky, Cracker Month, we will memorialize all of the white people who were lynched while black mobs gathered around to laugh at the bodies and eat saltines. Moment of silence. In the arms of the angel. Hashtag never forget that shit that never happened. So remember, when January 31st backhands midnight and God pulls up the first February sunrise like a Pantherian fist and our history roars its initial roar, you can have 28 seats. You can learn 28 things. Or you can shut the fuck up. What's with that?
Wasn't that nice? Imagine being that much of a victim. All right, let's go. Let's go. Where is my, where is it? Me and my boomer tech ways. Man, I keep hearing about this Tom Segura divorce thing. It's coming up everywhere. Why? I know Jesse was on their show, Your Mom's House. It's too bad. Okay. Should I just go from the top? I have so many videos saved about Rhodesia. A lot of just videos of what it was like there. I was watching a video today of like modern Zimbabwe. I don't remember what town they were in, but it was like the second biggest city in Zimbabwe, and it was all like Rhodesian ruins. Not ruins, but like all the buildings were basically Rhodesian. All right, so let's just take it from the top. Y'all ready for this? Shout out to Modern Gentleman, Laughing Dog, 747, and Gangster Ghost in the chat, and whoever else may be watching. Say hi. We got that watch later going on.
Was out doing menial job. There was no joblessness in Zimbabwe until Robert Mugabe said, I need it, I want it. And when they gave it to him, what did he do? He kicked out what is called commercial farming, thinking if I give it to my people, when they handed you a country in 32 years, you turn it into a gutter. No, they have to create a boogeyman. The farms died in Zimbabwe. Roads.
Guys, so Frank Zano is back with another really scathing critique on many African leaders, African countries, and especially in this one, it's on Zimbabwe. And this is really important in light of what's going on right now with South Africa, with the whole kick out illegal foreigners and all that. South Africans are slowly being kicked out from all the rest of the continent. I saw a video where some South African tourists were being kicked out of Mozambique. And I've been ringing this on my channel. I didn't know South Africans. I really don't know how the rest of Africa would actually welcome South Africans going forward. But it's unfortunate what's really happening. And I don't know how it would end. But anyway, in this video, Frank Zano is taking, his critique to Zimbabwe, right? And especially on this leader called Dr. Arikana Chihombarikwawo, right? I've been following her for quite some years. She used to be the African Union ambassador to the United States, all right, at some point. And she was very vocal. She used to be very, very passionate when she was in that role. And she spoke a lot about French colonialism in Africa. She speaks a lot about French neo-colonialism. I think when Ibrahim Traore came to the fore in Burkina Faso, she visited Burkina Faso herself. And she's been really vocal about African sovereignty and African, independence, and how Africa has to attain its own economic freedom, from the throes of neo-colonialism that has actually held it down. She has really been really passionate, fierce, anti-colonial, neo-colonial critique, and really strong passion for African people and Africa, all right? But in this video, which many times I struggle with how Frank Zano sees things, but at the end of the day, like I usually say, as a Black person, as an African person listening to Frank Zano, at first instance, it feels as though he's somebody who would be lynched by many Black people, all right? Because it feels as though, in fact, I think I saw a comment on one of my videos that says, why do people even give him a platform? He's very anti-African, and every opportunity he finds himself. But many times I just try to be patient and listen to what he's saying, all right? And one of the things he's actually saying in this video, actually it starts with this video where Dr. Arikana was actually comparing Africans to other races and arguing that, you know, Africa is the birthplace of Africa. Africa has the highest gene structure. Africans are the most intelligent and all that. Most of those things which Frank Zanu's things are really unnecessary in this age and time of AI and all that, that Africans should be proud of other things they have created and not things that they have not created. Let's quickly listen to the video that really got him upset.
Black people have 9 segments, which is the highest gene segment. The second race, I won't mention their color, they don't look like us. Their gene segment is 6. And then 5.
Wow.
Blacks have the
9.
highest gene segment. Clearly more intelligent.
Yeah.
I can't help it, it is the facts. Just like they denied for far too long that life began in Africa. They wanted to make sure we got to prove that Black people are inferior. And they went high and low, looked everywhere, turned every rock they could turn, and they still came back to the same place. Life, as we know it, began in Africa. Plain and simple.
Plain and simple.
They're the same ones who came up with the gene segment issue. But what they do is they don't want to bring it all out and make sure it's in our history books. But whose fault is that? We're still using the old colonial textbooks that intentionally eliminated facts that would have brought us up more empowered and proud as Africans. They put in there anything to demoralize us.
Yeah. So that's Dr. Arikana really expressing herself, really being, you know, the same personality I've always known her to be. She's really been pushy on African sovereignty and, you know, the greatness of Africa's empires and all that going forward. But Frank Zanu wasn't having it. And it's really interesting that she also is Zimbabwean. Zimbabwe, you know, which had a really interesting history with, you know, Robert Mugabe, the breadbasket of Africa, turning into what I think in Mnangagwa has actually, the current president, right? President Emerson Mnangagwa. He had actually signed into law. I think he's going to be president now till 2030. And, you know, the democracy in Zimbabwe is something many people have actually critiqued. But anyway, whatever the case is, Frank Zanu is actually arguing that Dr. Arikana is from Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe is just like South Africa, one of those same countries that was handed over a fully advanced country, all right, over 32 years. This is now from Frank Zanu. But what it has become today is something far away from what it received 30 years ago, and arguing that, you know, Black people have to be, you know, honest with themselves and, you know, try to really step up and argue and say, okay, yes, this was the best. We tried our best, but this is what we actually, you know, were able to produce, rather than always going back to the past to claim. So this is Frank Zanu's argument that Africans brag a lot about the past, while other countries, if you see the likes of Malaysia has argued that it wants to, by 2035 or so, it wants its country to be full of, if you meet five Malaysians, right? 2 should have a PhD, 2 should have masters, and 1 should have bachelor. So they want to push for a massive literacy program. I think in Singapore also, there's a really crazy futuristic program going on. I think the closest country to this kind of things is actually Kenya. The president of Kenya yesterday had actually just signed a sovereign wealth fund, just like how Norway did in 1996. So in 1996, Norway created a sovereign wealth fund that over the 30 years in 2026 now, the gains, the profits from the investments of that sovereign wealth fund now contributes, I think, 30% of its budget. And the fund is still growing to the point that it can cover the great grand generations of Norwegians, of a country of, I think, about 5-6 million thereabout. So Kenya is actually on that path. I think this is what Frank Zanu is trying to push. That African leaders, he mentioned Julius Malema, he mentioned Dr. Arikana, he mentioned Umar Johnson in the US, and some of these leaders who actually always try to, you know, take Africans back to the days of the empires and brag from that, while other countries are actually producing for the future. Frank Zanu is actually against all of that and bringing Zimbabwe back in with the fact that Dr. Arikana is Zimbabwean and where Zimbabwe is today is something I think is a really interesting critique, really in a way, but whatever the case is, let's just quickly listen and pick 1 or 2 points from what he has to say regarding the fact that Dr. Arikana claims that Africans or Black people have always been, or maybe might be, the smartest people in the world, and whether that kind of argument is necessary or not in this age and time. And share your thoughts in the comments.
Every time a black man fails, which I don't believe is a failure, you are just what you are. What you have built is the best you can. Leave it for the next generation and generation to come. Maybe they will change it. For now, what we have built is only based on the abilities we have. Nothing is taken anywhere. Nothing is hiding anywhere. But what you're doing is killing the future of the young ones who are to come with this nonsense. They look around, they cannot innovate anything. They cannot build anything. They cannot invent anything, all because of you. So they are all singing the same songs right now. We have diamonds and gold. We have natural resources. We have oceans. We have mango trees. The first human being came from Africa. Oh, look at that Chinese black person there. You see that those were blacks who went to China. Everything is 2,000, 3,000 years ago. What is Zimbabwe's blueprint for 2035 and onward? You don't have it. What is Nigerian's blueprint? The promise to the people, 2035, 2040. Children had not eaten since 3 days ago to even think about what would happen in 2035. When a large population of children, young, dynamic, vibrant, creative Nigerians, Ghanaians, Malians, Togolese, Beninois, Ivorians, Cameroon, Gabon, they are all flying out into boats to get to Europe. Of course, you have nothing to show them but bones, genes, and a place where mankind was born, something you have nothing to do with. And you're begging the white man to just include in his books that you are not inferior. And they've tried to keep out of the books. But here it is. Zimbabwean scholars and their universities have not even produced one history book about their own country. The Rhodesian government have to try to write it for you to read. So you go to Belgium and other places when you want to write a history about your own country. Same with West Africa. You can't complete a history of any country in West Africa without going to the archives in Europe because you don't have any. And the few they left behind, you have to use bulldozers to look for it. By the time you find it, it has so much dust you can build a house with it. And you are here calling their education inferior? You are here begging that they should recognize you. Now, if you say you're superior, you're...
This guy's based, huh? That lady was nuts that they were talking to. I didn't know what to expect from this video, but I do find this pretty interesting hearing Africans talk about this. Want to take a quick moment to shout out Modern Gentleman's Lungs, making it through 3 days of the worst smoke he's ever experienced. Congratulations. I hope no permanent damage is done. He reminds you of the Why Are You Gay guy. Yeah, the voice is kind of similar. There's I don't know where he's from exactly. I don't know where the original creator is from. Let's see, what's his channel name here? Stop popping up, sorry. So the name of this guy is Frank Zanu. Frank Zanu. Okay.
Or genes makes you the most intelligent, and you are the place of the existence of mankind. Why should the inferior ones be the one to acknowledge you for you to be happy? You twisted. How would he be this upset if you're not a doctor? Yes, you studied at the Mayhack College in Nashville, Tennessee, and you lived in the United States for more than 10 years and developed yourself to what you are today. Then you turn around. Didn't you see the United States? And then when you went to Zimbabwe, you saw Zimbabwe. When you were traveling through Africa, didn't you see it compared to France? When you were traveling to East Africa, didn't you see it compared to Germany and Belgium and Spain? You want to tell me? When the whites took Southern Rhodesia that became Zimbabwe, that country was the breadbasket of Africa, didn't it? Dr. Arikana, yes, it was. Not because of you and your kind, because the white man knew how to make that place that way. That's why no Zimbabwean was out doing menial jobs. There was no joblessness in Zimbabwe until Robert Mugabe said, I need it, I want it. And when they gave it to him, what did he do? He kicked out what is called.
Well, I don't. I've been watching some documentaries about like the late years in Zimbabwe, or I'm sorry, Rhodesia, excuse me, and there did seem to be some joblessness happening. Obviously, they were in a war for like 15 years, the Rhodesian Bush War. There were a lot of areas that were not safe and became, militarized and actually lived under martial law. They had no support from any other like Western nations. All their friends pretty much abandoned them and let them, be attacked by these guerrilla communists. And there were people who were without jobs, but they're definitely, compared to now, the living conditions, the rate of employment, and a sense of like opportunity definitely was a lot better in Rhodesia compared to now. So yeah, I don't want to act as though like, oh, there was no such thing as joblessness in Rhodesia. That's not true. There were people without jobs, especially Blacks. But I mean, I saw something interesting. There were people who were working as people who didn't have any other form of income, were working as scroungers, basically going through the dumps and collecting glass and like plastic and aluminum and other materials so that they could recycle them, because Rhodesia's economy became very insular. They didn't have a lot of countries trading with them anymore. They were under all kinds of sanctions. So, people were doing that. Some of the more desperate people, but obviously like a lot more employment when the white man was in charge. But anyway, let's continue. I love this guy, just like this face he's making is funny, but I just love him. It is amazing to me what some of these like Pan-Africanists will say, or like how they will look at things, and like they have this like bizarre sense of superiority. Like they take it to that level. It's like this I don't know, it's like overcompensation. I don't know, they know they are lacking in some way. They know that the nations they come from are lacking. And they want to pretend that they have the highest IQs, the best genetics, and all of these things. And it's like, well, did you have the wheel before the white man showed up? Did you know how to like do agriculture en masse? Did you know how to like build and feed a nation? Stonemasonry, all this stuff. I'm not trying to be, rude. I don't think that determines a human being's value, but like, it does come across as overcompensation. What's up, Noe her? Let's continue.
Commercial farming, thinking if I give it to my people, just like Black people do always and everywhere, they don't want to do the work. They don't also want to ask, is it just simply because maybe we don't have the capability? No, they have to create a boogeyman. The farms died in Zimbabwe. Roads cracked, transportation ended, water couldn't flow, and the currency had an obituary written about it. That was the end. And you suffered it for more than 38 years. And they have to disgrace Robert Mugabe by overthrowing him and his half-baked wife. Oh, what a shame. Now you have Crocodile, who is confused completely. Where are the children of your president? This is no way to live. In 2026, no one should be attacking a foreign country because of the plight of your own country. Because it's proving plenty of time. Many cultures and societies had it worse than we have had it in Africa. worse. But because you cannot explain the African phenomena, how come 54 countries in one continent and those spread out can never accomplish anything? So you think nobody is doing anything. No one is preventing you from doing anything. It's just not in your toolbox. What we have created is what we can create right now up until 2026. The children who are coming, the Gen Zs and their children, maybe they will do something different. So please stop poisoning and just hold them, talk to them. Be proud of what you have created. Whether the economy in Zimbabwe fell or not, just tell the world. But we tried, and this is what we came up with. It's time countries have to take down the borders and step across and work, partner, collaborate with those who can help so our children can have a better future. So for the creative ones among them, they can have a music studio to go and sing and record. Those of them who can paint, they can afford a simple easel and a canvas and paint. Those who can dance can have a studio that can allow them to dance and train. Those who can manage finances, there should be banks to allow them. But when they keep hearing things like this from you, gosh, this is what we should all be calling out. Whether you are white, blue, green, no place for these such talks again in 2026 onward. And I'm going to speak against it. And every studio you go to spew this nonsense, I will speak against it. This is Project Rethink. It is in my passion. I'm going to be a gatekeeper to you guys and the young ones I have met in all my travels. Vibrant, creative, full of passion. They have no hate in their hearts. But every day they listen to you and Julius Malema, Umar Johnson, Joy Reid, Don Elliman. You're poisoning these kids. And the circle will never be broken. Let's break that circle this year. What is this nonsense? Gene 8 makes the black person the most intelligent? Define intelligence. Of what use is intelligence? When they handed you a country in 32 years, you turn it into a gutter. Of what use is intelligence?
All right, onward.
Get out the car. I actually went this way. Now I'm walking back to my car. You're not going to allow me to walk back to my car?
Take that path back to your car.
No, I'm going to walk this way.
Take that
right
path
there.
back to your
right
car.
there. No, I'm going to walk.
Take
No,
that path back to your
you
car.
can't. This guy's
So
stopping me
this
from.
was happening in Portland. I guess I should have moved it around, but I kind of wanted to include it today anyway. Just a little break. Here is some local activists. I won't name what group they're part of. I don't know for sure, but they're blocking this guy from walking on this public path in the park.
Getting in my car.
This guy's a Nazi.
No, I'm not.
Get the fuck in your car before you cause a motherfucking
I'm not causing a problem.
Yes, you
I'm walking
are.
down a sidewalk.
Just by fucking breathing, you're causing a problem.
And that's how you
Get
feel?
the fuck back in your car,
No,
bro.
you don't tell me what to do.
Oh, really?
No, you don't.
Bet you listen eventually.
Eventually?
Yeah.
When's that eventually going to be?
Who fucking knows? But...
I'm going to go on a walk, but I'm not going to get back in my car.
Oh, okay. Yeah, leave your car unattended.
Leave my car unattended?
Uh-huh.
Or what? What's going to happen?
I don't know.
No, I'm not. That's a lie. 100%.
He's already been told to stay out of the park.
For walking.
Someone talked to you about staying out of the park?
What, are you going to slash my tires?
Oh, no.
Spray paint your bullshit, fucking Nazi-ass propaganda all over my car?
Nazi propaganda? Do you understand?
You guys spray paint swastikas all over cars. That's Nazi propaganda, isn't it?
No. Your people are the ones that are fucking Nazi.
What up with your whole investigation?
On the Epstein files?
No. That's too big for you.
I don't like you being behind me in a mask. You're scrawny, but I don't want you to ram me with your bike.
The fraudulent nonprofits.
It's going great. They actually opened up an investigation on Indiegogo.
Good.
Yeah.
You should continue on that. Keep focusing on that.
I was walking, and then you guys surrounded me, and then I pulled out my phone.
Because
for accountability, right? Once you guys stop surrounding me, I'll put my phone down.
You're not being surrounded right now, okay?
Every single time that you see me, you call me by my fucking slave name. You dusty
Okay, what would you like
motherfucker.
for me to call you?
Nothing.
Huh?
We're not trying to fuck with you, but
Then why are
your
you
presence
pressing me like that?
Because we know you're gonna come over here and fuck with people.
I'm
Or
not
you're
fucking with nobody,
You're gonna
bro.
peek around.
Creep around. I'm walking.
We surrounded us.
I don't like being surrounded by people with masks and camouflage around my car when I don't have any self-defense on me.
Oh no.
Right? You can agree with me, right?
I'm not denying.
Like if you had a car, but you don't. But if you did,
Oh, you sure about that?
do you have a car? I never
sure
see
about
you. I
that?
never see you in it ever.
That's because I'm a ninja.
All right, I can agree with that. Well, if I surrounded you in your car and I had a mask on and I started calling you all these names, you wouldn't get out of your car and start walking?
No,
Would pull the shotgun that you claim that I have.
I thought
out
it was
of
a
my
shotgun, but then I
fucking
realized it was nunchucks.
Why are you so fucking
you want to see the
worried
video?
about?
Yeah. But it's a public sidewalk. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do?
I'm the person telling you. I'm the fucking fifth person telling you.
Okay, but you don't have any
Go that
authority
way.
over me.
Go.
I'm gonna go that way.
You're gonna go that way. Yeah, you do.
Can we pause here for a moment?
I'm gonna go that way.
I just want to make sure that you all.
I'm only recording because he got accounted for accountability. I don't care about
You need to
whatever
go
he
that
thinks I care
So I'm
about.
hearing that you.
He says
heard
I'm a
from someone
Nazi.
that you were
A Nazi.
you were asked to be out of the park.
He was.
But
Do we
he
know?
has no authority to tell me to leave the park.
Yeah, this is the fifth time you've circled.
But
the
you
park.
don't live
Go
here.
on.
He doesn't live
You
here.
don't know where the fuck I live. Go on.
You know how violent this is?
It sounds like you're on your way out of the park.
I am going to my car, which is over there.
Yeah, he can take
You,
this
can you
path.
walk with me?
Can
Yeah,
you
you can walk
walk
with me. How about that?
Is that okay?
Take him that way. Take him out.
I understand that. We're working out.
Look, I'm out of the park now.
All right, keep going.
No, dude. No, bro. Who are you?
We're
With your
walking
Nazi
this way.
tattoos on your side of your head. That's ridiculous. Calling me a Nazi. Like, what?
Crazy.
Throughout most of the 20th century, there was one African country that was quietly moving in the opposite demographic direction from the rest of the continent. And whereas the colonial population of other countries on this continent were declining, this single exception was well on its way towards becoming a majority white country. In today's video, we will highlight the forgotten demographic history of Namibia before the rise of SWAPO and how a single political turning point abruptly reversed a trajectory that could have permanently reshaped Southern Africa completely. The 20th century history of all European colonies in Africa, including South Africa, seems to be one characterized by the demographic decline of its Caucasian population, combined with massive exponential population explosions of its Bantu populations. This was most certainly the case here in South Africa, a country that was formed in 1910 when the British Empire consolidated 13 different territories, republics, and colonies that it had conquered into one imperial state. Suddenly, the Orange Free State, for example, which had been a majority white Boer republic for much of the 20th century, was now reduced to the second smallest province in one of the largest countries on the continent. But as white South Africans and most of the other colonies declined demographically throughout the 20th century, there was one exception to this rule: Namibia. Formerly known by the ethno-territorial name of German Southwest Africa, and then from 1915 onwards simply as Southwest Africa. At the start of the 20th century, Namibia's white population was tiny, just over 3,000 people living in the country at this time. For perspective, this is about the same population as the town of Orania today. Within 20 years, when the 1921 census was conducted, the white Namibian population had grown to nearly 20,000 people, with the country's total population at this time numbering just under 200,000. And for the next 40 years, the growth of the white population in Namibia would continue to greatly outpace that of any other racial groups. Between 1921 and 1960, the white population of Namibia grew by 273%, compared to all non-white populations, which only grew by 116% during the same period. In other words, during these 4 decades, the white population of Namibia grew more than twice as fast as the non-white population. And as a result, the white population's share of Namibia grew from 8.6% to 14.1% over the very same period. To give you some perspective, if the same growth rates recorded between 1920 and 1960 were to simply continue until today, Namibia would now be just over 30% white and well on its way to becoming Africa's first majority white country by the second half of the century. Like other Western nations all over the world, the white population of Southwest Africa still exhibited a fertility rate far above replacement level prior to the 60s. Yet, this exceptional growth rate of its white population cannot be attributed to births alone and was in fact largely the result of large-scale immigration from South Africa and of course post-World War I Germany. When Germany was defeated in the First World War, it was forced to give up all of its colonies. 4 years prior to that, in 1914, early in the Second World War, South Africa's forces fighting for the British Empire had already invaded and defeated the German forces in this country. The coastal towns of Swakopmund, Walvisbaai, and Luderitz were strategically important for the German Navy during this war, as was the radio communications between the German motherland and German West Africa. Under General Louis Botha, the South African forces outnumbered the German Southwest African forces, and the Union of South Africa consequently took full control of this territory within 9 months. For the next 75 years, Namibia would be ruled by South Africa, and for the first half century of this rule, this would greatly impact Namibia's demographics. During this time, thousands of Afrikaners who hadn't previously lived in any part of Southwest Africa moved there, as did many German families following the defeat of the First World War. To both the South Africans and the Germans, post-war Namibia offered something that became increasingly rare elsewhere. Large, vast swaths of legally protected, cheap land under a government that guaranteed that the rights of citizens were protected from invasion and confiscation of this land. Additionally, opportunities in the diamond mines in the south and copper mines in the north led to the creation of new mining towns to which immigrants from both South Africa and Germany flocked onto this new frontier of the 20th century. Essentially, the South African government of the time treated Namibia as a white settlement frontier, not merely as a neutral mandate territory. And so, whereas other colonies were increasingly starting to look demographically bleak for people of European descent in Africa, 20th century Southwest Africa was being transformed into what would have become Africa's first majority white state. In fact, if the demographic trends of the 20s to the early 60s were continued, Namibia would have become a majority white country by the second half of the 21st century, within many of our lifetimes. Keep in mind that even today, the total black population of Namibia is less than that of Pretoria in South Africa alone, a country almost as big as South Africa with such a tiny population. One of the most sparsely populated countries in the entire world. Yet, by the 70s, everything changed. Before then, white population growth depended heavily on net in-migration from South Africa and Germany, but the attraction of Namibia declined radically. You see, by 1973, the United Nations formally recognized SWAPO as the so-called authentic representative of the Namibian people. And the South African administration of Namibia was declared illegal or illegal occupiers. SWAPO, short for the Southwest African People's Organization, was founded in 1960 as a Marxist-Leninist liberation movement with the express objective of ending South African rule in this area. From the late 60s onward, SWAPO adopted armed struggle tactics similar to the ANC in South Africa as its primary strategy and aligned itself politically and militarily with the Soviet bloc or the Soviet Union alongside the ANC, receiving training, funding, and logistical support from the USSR, Cuba, and other communist states of the time. SWAPO waged a guerrilla insurgency war against South African rule by infiltrating fighters from bases in southern Angola, attacking police stations, military patrols, and infrastructure in the northern parts of Namibia, and mobilizing rural populations through intimidation and political organization, very similar to what the ANC had done in South Africa. This largely triggered the South African Border War, which would last from 1966 to 1990, and which would, of course, irreversibly alter the fate of not only Namibia, but South Africa as well. The political consequences of this war for Namibia are well known. On the 21st of March 1990, Southwest Africa officially declared independence from South Africa as Namibia, with SWAPO leader Sam Nujamu sworn in as the first president of this country. And the rest, as they say, is history. SWAPO has governed Namibia ever since, and just like the rest of Africa, the demographics of Namibia have become greatly unfavorable towards their white populations. And today, less than 2% of Namibia's population of 2.9 million people are Afrikaners or Germans, with the white population having declined from its peak of around 80,000 in the 60s to a mere 50,000 people today. In a recent video, we highlighted how senior members of the Namibian police force today are now running a gun smuggling racket into South Africa, moving automatic weapons over the southern border and flooding the Cape Flats in Cape Town. Check out this full research report by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now. And do remember to support our work by investing in us by becoming a paid member by following the simple steps underneath me. Thank you, goodbye, and God bless.
Same everywhere, huh? The Marxist communists. I guess before we get into this next video, yeah, I do think it's, I guess I'd not really looked into it or thought about it that much, but just to know the levels with which the communists were responsible for basically destabilizing all these white nations in Africa. How they were funding it and supporting it, you know, giving weapons to these people. And, you know, it's not really panned out very well, has it? And I don't know, a lot of it does seem to be economic. They wanted more economic control of the area. Obviously, China and Russia still invest quite heavily in various African countries. But I do think this is like interesting, to say the least. Same game, indeed. And I think it's interesting here. It's a way of like primitive accumulation almost of these, you know, forces, basically creating a boogeyman, the white man, and then, you know, scapegoat that the white man, turn him into the enemy, take up like arms and liberate yourself from their yoke, and then, you know, all this prosperity and freedom will be yours. And it's the same lie, you know, obviously, that has existed throughout time. Yeah, and also like it's also like it's a land grab for other people. It's a grab for resources. Like okay, so these people that are in government are going to take control of all these other people's land and supposedly run it better for the people, but that they don't. They enfranchise themselves, and there's even less food produced now. there's you know, one documentary I was watching last night, I think, was talking about how because of the sanctions against Rhodesia, they had to, you know, basically do all their own textiles. Like they made their own fashion clothing and produced it in the country and sold it in the country. So yeah, they were like looking, oh, we'll check out this department store, look at all these fashions, you know. People were much better dressed at that time as well, like especially the Black population. It's just it's interesting. I don't think people understand, because like when they feel like a victim and they feel hard done by, like you're just blinded by your anger. So you're given a scapegoat. The scapegoat is like, I don't know, a race, a class, or, you know, conveniently like a system like capitalism or apartheid that's keeping you down, and not so much. Well, anyway, let's continue. Sorry. This is great though. I'm glad. Thanks for being with me while we explore these difficult topics together. So this is Zimbabwe white farmers, part 1.
Fall down, wasted, and I feel I'm going down. Fall down, wasted, and I feel I'm going down. Goodbye, darling, I've been good till now.
Oh, what's for dinner? Thanks for being here.
Countrywide, we've got about 400 farmers that are still white farmers, still on the land in some way or another. Many of those are perhaps not actually living on the land. They're living in town and managing to operate from a distance, so that they're not seen as white people on the land, and that way they're managing to keep going. But those 400 are dwindling all the time. There's eviction orders going out all the time. There's a new act at the moment, which we believe will be promulgated next month, which we're very concerned about, which will ensure that the last 400 are basically removed from the land. As to how they're managing at the moment, I think with great difficulty. There's a tremendous amount of tenacity, I think, amongst the last that are left. They've survived 6 years of violence and thuggery. And many of them have been badly beaten. Many of them have had terrible things to have to contend with. It's actually a very sad situation all round. Without an economy, without an engine, as it were, for a country to actually create the wealth to supply the things that a population needs, all you see is destruction all around us. And as a result, our doctors are leaving, our nurses are leaving, our teachers are leaving, our lawyers are leaving, all the professionals that we were very proud of in this country, a very well-educated population. All those people are leaving. The middle class that is so lacking in so many African countries, almost every African country just does not have a middle class. We had a middle class in this country, and that class is the class of people that is left. 25% of our population has now left the country, and they're benefiting other countries in other places, but and we're left with the very rich and the very poor. We're going to see Dirk and Heidi Misaki, who have been here. Well, they came back having been to university and everything in South Africa just after or just before the land invasion started. Back onto the family farm, and then they bought a small plot shortly after the invasions actually started, I think. But they've lost about 95% of their land. They're still here. They've had a lot of problems to try and deal with over the last 6 years, and it's just been a constant battle for them. But they've remained upbeat, and they've managed to concentrate their.
My father was American. That's Jamie's dad. You could tell by the mustache. He does have a pretty epic mustache. Whose mustache is bigger, his or Jamie's? That's my uncle. Anyway, yeah, they did. Shout out to South to West in the chat. Yeah, I've been really impressed looking at some of the photos of the soldiers and how they like wore shorts in the bush.
I got that guy's forehead and cheekbones and mustache.
Yes, he is a very handsome man. Mwah. Hey, babe. Doesn't matter. It's how you use it. Oh, my. All right, let's continue listening to this guy. It's interesting hearing from the farmers.
Farming enterprises by spending a lot of money in putting up greenhouses and growing flowers, and so they grow flowers now for export, and they've actually kept their turnover going somehow through that. They're one of the few people within Zimbabwe that have actually still got some faith in the law. Very few people now use the law courts in any way because they've been so intimidated into making sure that people don't use the law. When people use the law, the war veterans, the district administrators, the police even get very upset with you. And so many people have completely abandoned the use of the courts or the law in any way. And so it's now a purely patronage system where you have to be on the right side of the local warlord or the local district administrator or the local governor in order to be able to have the privilege of living in your own home.
If you want to buy a farm, you've got to offer the farm first to the government. And the government says, do they want it for resettlement or don't they? And then if they say they don't want it, then they offer you with a certificate of no interest, saying the government's got no interest in your land. You can now go ahead with the purchase. And so we did that. And we actually bought the plot after the land reform had started. And with the idea that it was small, because when the whole thing started, the theory was they only wanted farms. So we call it a plot, and it was 45 hectares. We thought it should be fine to go ahead and buy it. They issued us a letter of no interest. We moved in, and 2 weeks later, we were actually busy repainting the outside to move in. The man drove in here with his offer letter and said, well, he's been issued this offer letter. Yeah, and that's when it all started. So the house has been going very much in fits and starts ever since then. The woman who was here on the day that they were trying to throw us out, it was him and his wife, and she was waving his finger in my face, and the man who was the lands officer was standing on the other side, and the two of them were shouting at me, and she said to me, you wicked, because I'd written on the door the last verse of Psalm 1, which said that the Lord protects the ways of the righteous, but destroys the ways of the wicked. And it really got them upset, because they said I'd called them wicked. And she said to me, you wicked. She said, you. And then I said to her, why am I wicked? And she said to me, because you are resisting moving off. So I said to her, why should we be moving off? I said, we bought this land. And I said to her, we paid for it. And I said, if you really wanted it, you could have bought it and paid for it just like everyone else. And then she said, but you wicked. And he was saying that the other lands officer was shouting in my ear. And eventually I said to him, what are you saying? And he's saying, your mother and father raped my mother and father. And I looked at him and I said, who's your mother and father? Who are they? And he looked at me and he said, and both of them stopped. And she said to me, you're too young to know the history of this country. So I said, well, I'm not that young that I'm not living through the history at this stage. I said, it's all being put back into a circle again. And for some reason, they perceive us, they're throwing this whole thing back. I just don't know what they've all been told and fed and brainwashed. But they see us as being absolutely awful.
I think the guys that's been hardest hit of everyone was the old farm worker, which is now basically working for like half a loaf half a bread a day. These are the guys that's been affected by far the most, and they can't afford school fees. They die of malaria, which is a treatable. It's not something that you die of because there's no medicine to treat it with. So I think, yeah, we can maybe complain about not getting sugar or any other commodity, but we can still live. But most of the other people can't live.
I believe that government's ultimate aim is to ethnically cleanse the land of all the last remaining whites. I believe that this has been the policy ever since the referendum in February 2000, when the people voted for government not to be able to take the land without compensation. And the majority of the people of this country actually voted along that line. Within 2 weeks, the invasions actually started. There were parliamentary elections due in the next 2 months. And they suddenly realized that they had to crack down very hard, especially in the commercial farming areas where a lot of the population actually lived and worked as employees on the commercial farms. And so long as there were white people around, they found it difficult to, we say, skull bash in the way that they wanted to skull bash in order to intimidate the population into voting for them. And so while there are still white people remaining on the land, those areas, it's very difficult for them to skull bash as they would like. Whenever we get an election coming up, it just goes into overdrive, this intimidation and the punguis all night long. And so, yes, I believe that the ultimate aim of the government is to ensure that there are none of us left on the land.
Oh, dang. Interesting stuff. All right. Firing line with William F. Buckley Jr., The Question of Rhodesia. So this is an interview with Ian Smith, the former Prime Minister of Rhodesia. Yeah.
May have seen this.
It's old. So this was when he was Prime Minister.
We're in Salisbury, Rhodesia, and during the next hour we'll be talking to Prime Minister Ian Smith. He is the one of the most controversial prime ministers in the non-communist world, the head of a very controversial government. He has a number of things to say about this whole Salisbury situation and the Rhodesian situation, which I think you will find interesting.
The following in black and white is a repeat of a program originally telecast on April 28, 1974.
Mr. Ian Smith is the Prime Minister of Rhodesia, an office to which he was elected in 1964 as the great crisis approached with Great Britain, the white Rhodesians surveying the proliferation of black independent countries around them, including the two former partners in the Federation of Rhodesia, wanted independence for themselves. And indeed, as a practical matter, Rhodesia had been self-governing since 1923. But the government of Mr. Smith, the Rhodesian Front, spoke only for the white population of Rhodesia, a bare 250,000 people, 5% of the population, and Westminster said no. Whereupon at 11:15 a.m. on November the 11th, 1965, the government issued a unilateral Declaration of Independence, the UDI, the second such declaration by a former colony in Britain's history, the first being our very own, which was signed before the word unilateral was invented. England instantly branded UDI illegal, imposed boycotts, in which she was joined by many other countries. In 1965, 66, and 67, the United Nations voted sanctions against Rhodesia. To this day, her government is not recognized diplomatically by any country. All attempts at reconciliation with Great Britain have founded on the issue of the treatment of the black majority. Ian Smith was born and went to school here. During the war, he was among the dozen most conspicuously valiant soldiers. As a pilot, a partisan, a guerrilla fighter. After one accident, his entire face was recomposed by plastic surgeons. He returned to Rhodesia, completed his work at Rhodes University, entered politics, and was voted leader of a party which soon captured all the white seats in Parliament. Twice he was on the verge of successfully negotiating an agreement. Most recently and most spectacularly, he was rebuffed by the black Rhodesians who rejected the proposed concordat with Great Britain. He stands now as the head of a country beleaguered by economic sanctions and terrorist night riders. He is apparently unflinching. I should like to ask the Prime Minister, what would happen if, in Rhodesia, if, say, over the next 4 or 5 years, the vote, in fact, were given to every literate resident?
Well, I think a lot, excuse me, a lot would depend on your definition of a literate resident. It is a fact that we still have quite a large number of our indigenous people, the African black people, who have had a very scanty education. I do want to make that clear, and we have never denied this. However, we are doing our utmost to try to ensure that we give more and more of them a better education. But we have got the tremendous problem that up to the time of the last war that you referred to, the majority of these people were not interested in education. In fact, you couldn't drag them to a school. After the war, there came about a revolution, and most of them decided that they would like to have an education. But as no doubt you are aware, this is easier said than done. There is the tremendous practical problem of providing the means to educate the people, the wherewithal, and not only the need to build, not only the bricks and the mortar, but of course without teachers to teach the children, then there isn't much point in providing the buildings. We pride ourselves on the fact that it is accepted we give our African people a better standard of education in Rhodesia than any other country in Africa to the north of us. So I think this is an indication of how much we have tried and to what extent we have succeeded.
Well, you haven't made clear to what extent you have succeeded. What is the literacy rate in Rhodesia, in the black population at this point?
It's very difficult, again, to be precise. As far as most of the older Africans are concerned, the majority of them never saw the inside of a school. But today, there are very few who don't see the inside of a school. And we do believe in fairly high standards. I think this is the crux of our policy. We believe that democracy is a responsible thing, that people who take part in it should acknowledge this responsibility. And therefore, we have high qualifications, both educational and financial. So really, in answer to your question, we don't like the idea of one man, one vote. And even if we did accept it, it would take quite a long time, I believe, where the average African would be sufficiently educated to be able to make an intelligent contribution.
Well, I understand what you say, but I'm anxious to pursue the following distinction. I think most Americans, for instance, are sympathetic with the idea of a literacy test, which we had until quite recently. It was a qualification that was held to be illegal in the South because the thought was that it was abused, that people who were actually literate were nevertheless being denied the franchise. But it still strikes most people as a reasonable qualification. And when people talk about the disfranchisement of all of the black people, the point is very seldom made, but how many of those in fact meet standards which white people are required to meet? And that's why I'm anxious to hear from you what is the effective disfranchisement of people who in fact here in Rhodesia would meet the qualifications that a white man has to meet in order to vote? Is it 5%, 10%, 15%?
I would say, but this is a guess.
Yeah.
You must please accept that. I would say that at the moment it is around about 20, 25%.
Now, then let me rephrase the question. What would happen if that 20 or 25% were given an effective franchise equal to the franchise exercised by the whites?
Well, they are entitled to that. There is nothing to stop them. It is a fact that the African lives under a different system to the one that we live in. The Western democratic system is something which is foreign to our Africans. They live under what is known as the tribal system. And they have their elected chief and the headman and the kraal head. And that person is their elected leader, you might say, and he represents them. And they accept the decision which comes from the council. And we find that they are not very interested in our system and very lethargic about taking advantage of the opportunities which are offered to them.
Well, what are the opportunities that are offered to them? Can they vote without distinction of color,
Yes.
assuming that they can establish their literacy?
Yes, they have exactly the same right that I have.
Well, now, are a certain number of seats in Parliament reserved for white occupants?
We have certain seats for whites and certain seats for blacks.
And what is the number in each case?
Well, there is nothing to stop the Africans having as many seats as the Europeans if they would qualify and come on for the vote. But they do have one peculiar preference, which the Europeans or the white people don't have. There are special seats which are entrenched for them on a lower qualification, that is 16 seats out of a house of 66. But in addition to that, they are entitled to come on and obtain as many seats as the white man, providing they take the trouble to qualify.
I see. So therefore, hypothetically, the 25% of the blacks who are literate, should they all exercise their vote, could in fact fill all 66 seats. Because in fact, 25% of 5 million is more than 250,000.
That isn't strictly the position. At the moment, under our constitution, the parliament is divided between black and white.
Oh, so certain seats reserved for whites only?
Yes.
How many?
Well, half and half.
33 are reserved. 33 must be white, is that it?
No, 50. Now, the Africans, as they come onto the roll, could earn and win up to 50 seats so that we got to a stage of parity. But at the moment, they enjoy 16 seats without earning them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as they earn their seats, these 16 would count. And the ultimate would be a position where they would earn 50 seats, and the Europeans, the white people, would earn 50 seats.
And that is a technical possibility when?
It's very difficult to predict this because of the imponderables that I have mentioned to you, the fact that they seem uninterested in our political system. No doubt time will change this, but at the moment, it looks a long way off.
Well, theoretically then, let's see if I understand you correctly. Theoretically, in your next election, which must be within 18 months,
yes.
Assuming mirabile dictu, that all literate black Rhodesians voted, they would have absolute parity in the parliament. 50 seats for them and 50 seats for you.
That is correct.
Now, the 69 Constitution to which I take it you are alluding,
yes,
you were prepared to modify how in 1971 when you met with Alec Douglas Hume and initialed a reform?
There were a number of points. Probably the most important ones were the manner in which people earn their right to seats in Parliament. At the moment, this depends on one's earning ability, one's financial contribution towards the fiscus of the country. Under the new suggested constitution, that yardstick is eliminated, and in its stead, we bring in a straight financial and educational qualification.
Could you describe that, Mr. Smith?
Well, for example, if you have a Form 2 education, if you know what that means 2 years in the secondary school, what we call senior school. It is, I suppose, standard 7 if you start right from the beginning. If you have 2 years of that, plus an earning capacity of around about $1,800 per annum, you qualify. If you have a higher educational qualification, 4 years secondary school instead of the 2 years that I mentioned, then your financial qualification drops from around about $1,800 per annum to, I think it's about $1,200 per annum.
You're talking about the 69 or the 71 proposal?
71.
Proposal, I see.
Yes.
Now, this would modify the 69 arrangement in what way?
Well, it would facilitate the position as far as the Africans are concerned. Our black people, it would make it easier for them to come on to the roll and to gain more seats in Parliament.
Well, what I now don't know is what are the financial requirements under the 69 Constitution?
Well, the financial
1,800 for the 71 one.
The same financial qualifications apply to obtaining the vote.
I see.
But it is the earning of seats in Parliament which has changed. Under the present situation, the 69 situation, the seats are earned dependent on the contribution towards the national exchequer. Whereas under the new setup, that is completely eliminated. And the only factor which governs seats in Parliament is the number of people who come onto the roll in keeping with this qualification that I mentioned.
I understand. Now, how many black Rhodesians earn $1,800 or more per year, would you say?
Well, I would say it's around about the sort of figure that I mentioned to you. I should think
About
around
25%?
about. Yes.
So as things now stand, the 25% who earn $1,800 probably coincide with the 18% who are literate, correct? I mean, there's a rough correlation.
What up, though, Tar Baby Yoda? Are y'all enjoying this? I'm enjoying it, but it's like an hour long. We're talking about Rhodesia, Rhodesian history, some white African history, Namibia, South Africa a little bit. Basically, the plights of the whites. I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna skip this just because it is a bit long, but it's very interesting talking about the parity in Rhodesia. Okay, so let's pull up the next video. This was footage of Rhodesia in 1971. White Castle, nice. Y'all could shop there. So this is Salisbury, Rhodesia. Shepherds. Ooh, back to school clothes. I heard they had a Woolworth that got bombed. Nice. It's almost like Tartaria, a bit like that. This video doesn't have any sound. It's kind of interesting just looking. Look at those old cars. Tar Baby Yoda says, Happy White History Month, guys. The sword, the football, the wheel. I can't see what the other thing is. The phone, the cell phone, money, something I can't see. Castles, rockets, airplanes, something else I can't make out. Vehicles, trucks, lorries. Scooters, anchors, gasoline, just some of why it contributes to the BIPOC humans. Right on. You're welcome, guys. Basically, civilization, you effing savages. Wow. Wow, okay. Thank a white man today. I mean, I didn't do any of that, but my ancestors definitely contributed to it somehow. Just ladies walking Radio City, Salisbury, huh? Looks pretty nice. Oh, love good polka dots. Is that lady sucking her thumb? No, she's just chilling. Look, they're sharing a bench. Like it's the most normal thing in the world. Oh, Gilbert's Gin. Hairdressing, Copper Gift Shop. Oh, Copper Gift Shop. Look at that smartly dressed Black Rhodesian fella. Everybody looks amazing compared to like, we know the man in the street views you get nowadays. People just don't look as good as they could, though. Why she got the black attitude, though? Because she's black. Don't matter where you are. This is so interesting because I'm just like thinking of videos I've seen of like modern Zimbabwe and what the streets look like. Like the buildings are still there and stuff, but everything looks kind of run down, and the streets are usually full of like merchants and things. Although they still have like really wide streets, which is pretty cool. I guess they built those for the horses and buggies when they were first created so that the horses could turn around. The Beverly Building in construction. Nice. Beverly Building Society. The Pearl. Ooh. Is that some kind of hotel? Looks like a church down the street. Oh, wow. That's interesting looking. Ooh, look at those motor cars. Take me back. I guess that's Cecil Rhodes. The great imperial founder of Rhodesia. Looks like a lovely little place, doesn't it? Adaptable lenses. Oh, cameras. Mm. Oh, wow. Oh, what are those called? The cameras with the two trying to remember what they're called, like twin reflex cameras. I always wanted to use one of those, but I never got an opportunity to shoot any photos with them. I would find them occasionally at like their stores, but they'd be broken. Oh. Hold up.